The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Leadership Podcast. It's another edition of The Big Issue. And of course, I hope you had a very wonderful weekend. Well, it's a busy day as usual, especially with the 2023 general election around the corner. Issues in the political scene keeps popping up. As you try to address one, you see another one rearing its head. And before we go into the main issue of the day, which is 2023, the Peace Committee and the Ceaseless war among presidential candidates. Feelers from Barrage State, where the APC Presidential Campaign Council held its rally. Has it that the APC campaign rally ended abruptly due to technical faults with the sound system? President Muhammadu Buhari and the APC presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu were said to have left the venue of the campaign rally in Bauchi without making their speech. Also, like somebody said that very soon now they will issue a statement saying that blaming the PDP and the governor of Bauchi State for causing that, for being behind the technical error that led to the failure of the sound system. So one will ask, is the Bauchi governor part of the APC campaign council? I think what the rally ground, everything there, the organizers are supposed to be the members of the APC campaign council in the state. Well, that is an issue for another day, because we will start talking. We might not have enough time to trash the big issue of the day. As usual, I'm your regular host, and of course, with me here in the studio, our in-house analyst, we have your very regular Silas Ezegu.
Welcome today.
And the political pundit himself, Chibuzo Kaiwi.
Thank you, sir.
Well, the big issue of the day is the effort by the National Peace Committee, headed by former head of state, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, to end the ongoing verbal attacks and mudslinging among the leading presidential candidates in the country. The Peace Committee at the weekend subjected presidential candidates and their political parties to a fresh commitment to the Peace Pact they signed last year in September. But despite these efforts, the candidates have refused to shake their soul. It had been one attack to the other, with the latest being the verbal war between the People's Democratic Party and the governing All Progressive Congress. The PDP asked the EFCC and the NDLEA to arrest the presidential candidate of the APC over alleged drug deal. And of course, the APC responded back, asking the APC to show remorse, recalling that it had asked the EFCC and other anti-graft agency to arrest and prosecute the presidential candidate of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, over alleged corruption involving the use of SPVs. Well, Silas, we discussed this issue last week, and of course, just as we were actually handing off, the Peace Committee saw to the matter and then jumped into the arena, trying to make the candidates adhere to the pact, the Peace Pact they signed last year, that the campaign should be peaceful, the election should be peaceful, there should be no violence. And I think the Peace Committee is worried because from the way it is going, if we must go by the verbal attacks, If care is not taken, the candidates, the supporters of this candidate might decide to start attacking. Although on the social media, we see them attacking themselves in line with what they see the candidates doing. How would you describe this kind of a situation? Just about 1 month to the presidential election, we are still here. The campaign are not issue based. The peace committee comes, try to settle the matter. The candidates are disdaining the committee. They're proceeding with. That means even in the election proper, the country might not be safe if this violence that we now see in form of verbal attacks gets into the election.
Thank you for that question. It's a concern that is very, very germane in this electioneering process, and underscores why the Sami Peace Committee decided to come back to the fray and to see whether they can get the candidates and the parties to recommit to peaceful conduct. Peace is not just action, even in West. Many times it is words that generate violence. So I would say that the peace committee is trying its best, being a body that is not backed by any legal force, to compel obedience. What they can do is to hope that their influence, the restricted positions of the restricted character of the people that make up the committee, the former head of state, the Shokuka, and other people like that, that if these politicians look at them, they will have a reason to respect them. Otherwise, I won't call the committee total bulldog, but it can really not enforce anything. Can only hope that its advice will be adhered to by the candidates in order to have. It should be everybody's interest, every right-thinking person's interest, to have a peaceful process in election. But you and I know that politicians are not normal people. They are when they're in that process, they are so desperate. The stakes are high. They want to win at all costs, and if it means using whatever they can against the other to bring them down and have victory, to them it's fair game. But the election is fast approaching, and a lot of people have predicted like violence in the election. In fact, that if politicians find that the space for rigging has been closed due to the Electoral Act, that mandates electronic voting transmission results, that what they can do is to resort to violence. So that fear is there. Now, with these counter punches from the two of the leading candidates, that 3 or 4 leading candidates, the 2 of the leading candidates, the 2 from the main bigger political parties, there has been a kind of hit and drag out. Each person is trying to undo the other one, whatever information they have or they feel they can gather. And they are calling for the other person's candidates to be brought down, prosecuted, jailed, and kicked out of the race. So, George, I think that the body language, then the speeches made for by the candidates themselves and by their spokesperson can have effect on an impressionable voters, other people who may not be able to detach their emotions from attachment to the candidates involved. For more enlightened people, they must just look at the the mud being thrown about as a way to to sift through the two candidates and find out whether they are worthy to be co-president or not. But those who are downliners, the other people in the street, they might be emotionally charged to become violent in order to defend the people they support. So it's a worry, and it is hopeful. We pray. I think there must be something in the letter laws that 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 guards against incitement. So if that inciting statements being made by politicians, because I remember one lawmaker telling his supporters they cannot vote for that party, or if anybody, they will do some violence there. I expected the agencies to pick up that person as a was it the goal of somebody? I don't remember that video. You know, I expected the agencies who are saying that they're ready for election to pick such a candidate up and use him as an example. If you make somebody an example, the chances that other people will be afraid that if they do something similar to that, if directed or indirected, they can pay for it. The judge, you are one of the biggest kept secret in Nigeria, is that people commit crimes and they don't even fear that they will be held accountable. They feel that they can behave anyhow, get away with it.
Get away with it.
If the justice system force those who have wronged the system and jails them or punishes them according to law, some of the things we are seeing in the politics will not arise. But those people feel that they can just do anyhow and get away with it. So the first way to the best approach to the issue is that the law enforcement agencies must step into this matter and find out what is the nitty-gritty of what is happening and find out the way around it, because honestly, violence in this election will not pay anybody any good.
Thank you very much, Silas. I think we will definitely look at that aspect of INEC coming in, because at least there must be provision in the Electoral Act for sanctioning of candidates who resort to incitement instead of concentrating on issue-based campaign.
Yes.
But just like you rightly say, Chibuzo, you heard what Silas said, and I think I'll agree with him that politicians are not normal people. You know, how would the candidates begin to call for their own arrest just a few months today? And of course, even the anti-graft agencies, they are befuddled and completely astounded, because if they step in now, or even their supporters will cry foul and say that it is persecution, political persecution. And Atiku's camp will say they should arrest Tinubu. Tinubu's camp say they should arrest Atiku. Although we know that a particular person won election as president in one country and came from prison. Is it Brazil or which country? I remember there's a country where somebody who, you know, how does this make sense? That we are trying to go into a contest and the candidates are saying that they should arrest the contestants. How can you explain this kind of a situation?
What is there to explain? I think this election is okay. Let me look at it this, because already the whole place has been awash with this
Contact sessions.
messy situation. And for some people, the question would be, how did they even get to become candidates in the first place? Why is nobody stepping down? Why is nobody? Is there no sense of shame or concern or what? But I don't think we have that culture in Nigeria yet. So I'm not going to, beat that issue. The question should be, what will Nigerians now do with what is out there? And I think that is where the focus should begin to tilt more towards, because if it's about the security agencies and the law enforcement authorities, I almost don't see them doing anything at this point. Because if they were supposed to do anything, they would have done it before now. Some of these things that are out there are not necessarily new. Nobody has to wait for the agencies for people to do some of the whistleblowing thing that we see here before agencies begin to do anything. So I'm not going to. For me. I don't expect anything from those guys. The question will be, what should Nigerians do when they go out to vote? I am inclined to think, like a good number of Nigerians, that most Nigerians have made up their minds on who they want to vote, regardless of what is out there. Unfortunately, it will seem as if corruption as a tool for campaign against some other person might not really necessarily count from the look of things. No matter how much you tar, they tar themselves or they tar each other, it might not necessarily count. In regards to the way Nigerians are going to vote, and it is sad, But I think that with most Nigerians going to the polls, it will tell so much about our social culture and our orientation, the way we vote in this election.
Well, thank you very much. I think we'll take a short break. When we come back, we will actually look and see whether it is all about the presidential candidates of the two major parties, APC and PDP. Because as of yesterday, even the presidential candidate of the Labour Party was not spared either. The APC said caution Nigerians not to vote for election merchants, those who will always be jumping from one party to the other just to get a platform to contest. Well, let's just quickly take a short break. As we do so, we hope that our viewers will contribute to the conversation on the big issue. Don't go offline. We'll be back in a moment.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
The Big Issue. Breaking down the issues that matter.
Welcome back. We're still on the big issue in leadership podcast. And of course, the big issue of the day is the peace committee and the ceaseless war, verbal war, among presidential candidates. Well, it seems like we are beginning to get feedback from our viewers who are now speaking their minds on the conversation. We have Sunset say the verbal attacks occurring among the presidential candidates, particularly APC and PDP, should not be treated with levity. It is a sign that the two candidates know themselves very well than we Nigerians know them. Therefore, they should be properly investigated by the police and DSS. Nigeria as a country needs a transparent election from come February 25, 2023. Alas, what do you think about what Sunset is saying there? It's like he said the APC candidate and the PDP candidates, they know something about themselves that Nigerians don't know. That is why they have been passionately, fiercely, and stubbornly calling for their arrest.
I think that if you go back to a bit of the political history, you will see that Atiku and Tinubu were in the SDP together.
ACN,
No, SDP.
SDP, okay.
They go
Dating back to
Yes.
yes.
So only 30 years ago. So they were in the same camp. So they knew, during the time of PDM and Co. So they knew themselves in out. They have been in political career for so long. They have been in government at the same time. Tinubu was president of our governor of Lagos for 8 years. Tinubu was
Vice President
for 8 years, the same period. So their paths have, that passed over the years. So,
and in 2011 also, when was that? It was
2007.
Tinubu who
2007.
gave 2007. It was Tinubu who gave Atiku the platform
yes, when
to contest the presidential election.
when Atiku fell out with PDP with Obasanjo,
Yes,
I had to do PDP to go and contest under AC
AC.
at the time. So the writer is correct that they know themselves very well. But he also made a point that beyond just looking at it as more singing, is there any grain in the allegations? If some crimes have been committed by both parties, the agencies involved need to investigate, and if they need to prosecute, they should prosecute. There's none of them has a immunity for now. No. The present governor and the president have immunity. Every other person can be tried, and there's no limit in terms of status. It's not statute ban. It cannot say because of the crime was committed 20 years ago. Some crimes in the Scotland Yard said, solving some murder cases 100 years after. So now, that's not solved a few weeks ago. That's something like 70 years. So, if some crimes were committed at the point and they were not able to be caught because of their position, they use their position to cover it up, or the Nigerian system. Now these things are coming out. Possibly it's time to investigate the issues and find out, whether there's getting. If then those people who are running that place they don't even need to get the president's consent. They should go ahead and prosecute them. But if they have found that those elections are just mere smear campaign, those who are making the allegations should be picked up. There's a part of the law that says if you malign somebody, you pay for it.
It's defamatory.
Yes, if you make
Defamation.
Defamation. So, and with all the fake news issues, which are very, very strong these days, there's enough to nail those who are making allegations. So, it's either the person who has accused has some questions to answer, or the person alleging offense should make to pay. But this thing should not just be, swept under the carpet. The allegations are weighty, the crimes are weighty, and they'll have, repercussions on the polity if either of the two men make it to the president, because the question of credibility will always for the person around.
Well, the peace committee is only a committee that have just only advisory capacity. It has no constitutional backing to say it can begin to threaten to issue sanction. But Chibuzo, we expected that the electoral umpire, INEC, should have stepped into the matter, just like Silas asked, the Electoral Act. I'm sure the Electoral Act will have a provision where it will be checked against things like this diverting from the main issue, concentrating on issue-based campaign, and begin to engage in mudslinging, name-calling, accusations and counter-accusations, and the rest.
I think the bulk of what INEC has to work with is purely an advisory when it comes to, citing comments and all of that. I think what INEC has is mainly an advisory rule, one of cautioning parties parties and candidates to play by the rules and not incite, the polity and all of that. I'm not so conversant with that part of the constitution or the electoral act that says INEC has a mandate to penalize or to punish anybody. I might have to brush up on that. But immediately, I can't really, call that up. But these things have been this admonition to parties and candidates has been something that has been repeated over and again. You know, I think it is the place of the security agencies to really monitor, and make sure that people who make such comments are called in and are cautioned, identify them and say, oh, you have. I think we should get to that point. What we've been having are just blanket comments about, oh, everybody should be mindful of what you say. I think we should get to the point where we name and shame at some point. Maybe, we can invite some of these people to come in, and really explain what they are trying to say and point to them that we are trying to instigate problems. If anything happens, we'll hold you responsible. The Tutsi and the Hutu issue, comes to mind quickly when comments about cockroach and crushing the cockroach and all of that happen. So we've also had situations where people were talking about body bags in 2019 and nothing happened. So these are the kind of things that would encourage people to keep making some of these inciting comments. But when they know that if you make such comments, you will be called out immediately, and people will take you on them. Civil society has been doing good work at that, but they need to do more. The media has to do more also. Call out these people and name them for name and categorize what they've said for what it is, perhaps to help to push back some of these negative and inciting comments that these people make.
Well, just like the co-chairman of the National Peace Committee and former head of state, General Abdul Salami Abubakar, retired, rightly said, he said Nigerians should be allowed to choose who becomes their leader in the next general election. And that was a call to the presidential candidate. And this entails that rather than engaging in words and attrition, they should rather concentrate on issue-based campaign. They should tell Nigerians what they will have to offer and what they intend to do to wriggle the country out of the economic, political, and social morass. It is a mess thing. And in the coming days, we hope that the presidential candidates will shake their soul, avoid anything that has to do with ad hominem attacks, and concentrate on the issues for which they expect Nigerians to vote them. And from the big issue here, we say enough is enough of the distractions, and let's see what we have to tell ourselves that it's enough for us to vote the candidate. That is where we draw the curtain for today's edition of the Big Issue. Thank you for keeping tab with us, and of course, I thank our in-house analysts for addressing the big issue. Join us same time tomorrow for another edition of this program. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.